Welcome, everybody, to Illuvium Insider. My name is Andrew Wall, and we've got an exciting stream. You saw a little behind the scenes there. I've got Grant, I've got Aaron here, and we've got all of you. And today is all about the last Illuvial. This is a really cool concept where you, the community, are going to be able to create the very last Illuvial in this set of Illuvials. It's going to be really, really exciting. And we're going to go over all of the details on how that works. I can't wait for you to learn more about Illuvials so that you can become experts. That's the whole point of this stream, so that you guys can become experts on Illuvials and you can learn about how their different synergies, classes, affinities, and how they were designed here from our co-founders. So you can become an expert and then you can submit your concept for the last Illuvial. And you hopefully can have your Illuvial show up in our game for real. So here's everything that we're going to go over in today's Illuvium Insider episode. First of all, we'll go over the last Illuvial community contest. Then, you can see him right here on the screen right now. We'll do the systems of Illuvials with Aaron Warwick. He's going to go over all the details on how all these systems work so you can get an in-depth understanding and learn how this man's genius psyche works. Then, we're going to do the aesthetic of Illuvials and some cool history with Grant Warwick on what's the story behind Illuvials, the aesthetic of this brand. He's got some cool stuff he was showing to me before the stream that he's going to share with all of you today, giving you some deep insights on why the Illuvials look the way they do and why they're designed the way that they're designed. And then you guys can take that knowledge back to when you're thinking about the Illuvial that you want to create and that you want to come to life. Then after that, we are going to test your knowledge with Illuvial trivia. Some of these questions are easy. Some of them are extremely brutally hard because Aaron put them together. I think 5 of the questions are much harder because Aaron, he doesn't play around. And so you'll get about 5 easy ones from Marcel that we posted on social, and then you'll get 5 extremely difficult ones. And 50 of you guys, later on, I'm going to put a link on the screen. We'll be able to actually buzz in and live be able to be the first one to buzz in and answer these Illuvial questions to either succeed or become embarrassed in front of the entire internet. And then lastly, we're going to do an in-depth co-founder AMA, where you can ask these co-founders anything that's on your mind, including when. I'm sure you'll ask that a million times. And we'll go over, hopefully, some substantive stuff and give you guys more details about Illuvium, the game, which we're really, really excited about. So, don't want to hold it up any longer. Let's talk about the last Illuvial community contest. This was the first thing that Aaron told me about when I started on the marketing team at Illuvium. He's like, I want you to do this contest and get this up like right now. And so what is this all about? Why is this so important? What you're going to do is you're going to imagine a concept for an Illuvial and use the time during the stream learning about Illuvials to think about it and write down your concept. You're going to create a 60-second video pitch about your concept for your Illuvial. So you can't ramble on and on and on. You got to respect everybody's time and come up with something super compelling, super fast. Really important to tell us about that. You can include any visuals in the video explaining your Illuvial concept. And then you're going to post it on social media, the buzzer starts right now, 1 week from now, on social media to get your concept out there. We will be listening using our social media listening tools. Then you're going to use hashtag #TheLastIlluvial in the title and copy of your social media post so that we can detect it. And then we can go review your concepts. You can post on TikTok. You can post on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, you name it. We can listen on all platforms. But ultimately, this man right here, Aaron Warwick, he is going to be the man that ultimately judges your concept and determines whether it's worthwhile and it's really truly creative and it's something that he thinks would be worth doing 3 1-hour working sessions with him. So Aaron, tell us a little bit about what are you looking for when people are sending in their submissions, just so they can really listen to what you want from these 60-second videos.
So the first thing that I would say, thank you, Andrew, is that it's not going to be just me. I'm going to need a lot of help. There's obviously the visual element of this challenge, which is to come up with something that's visually compelling. As people know, I'm not much of an artist, so I'll probably leave that to Grant to decide whether or not it fits our visual requirements. But we have a system where you can build alluvials fairly fast from a data perspective because of the way that we have built the game from the beginning. And because of that, we need to make sure that it matches certain themes and has certain functionalities. So today, when I go through the systems of the alluvials, you'll be able to get a little bit of a better understanding of what it is that we're looking for that you need to build out. But generally, we're just looking for something that is unique and compelling and doesn't sort of impede on any of the other alluvials that we have at the moment. We want it to be something that is unique in its own right. Um, I was actually a little bit worried about this challenge initially because I thought someone might come up with a really compelling concept for an alluvial that we have already got in the pipeline. But Grant solved that for us really easily by leaking pretty much every alluvial in existence. So now there's no issues in terms of overlapping. Uh, so you won't have any problems. You know what's out there.
You won't find a single interview with any of my brothers where the first thing they say is, it's Grant's fault. New interview, Grant's fault.
Yeah, you'll be able to know what it is that we're looking for at the end of this live stream, and then we go to judge it, and then afterwards, once we pick the winner, your concept is going to there's going to be things that you need to refine about it to make it match in with our systems. In this one live stream, I'm not going to be able to give everyone all of the information that they need. So we'll do a few sessions where I go through the character creator that we have built, and you'll be able to understand exactly how we do it. And I'll just guide you, and together we'll make that alluvial. Now, the other thing that I want to stress is that we're actually going to be building 3 because it's the whole alluvial line that we need to have built. So technically, there's going to be a stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. They all need to match our theme, which for set 1 is endangered or extinct animals. Apart from that, any concept goes as long as it doesn't hit on any of the other alluvials that we've already released out to the public. If someone does release something that we've already done, I'm sure people will be able to tell them straight away. They have plenty of time to redo, add a new concept in. And yeah, then you will literally be the person who helps ideate out the final alluvial for set 1.
That is very exciting. And let's talk about the prizes. So I'm going to just full screen this so you guys can see the prizes, just so you can know. Obviously, you're going to get those 3 sessions with Aaron Warwick to go over the concepts and do all of those details he was talking about. You will get 1 artist edition NFT of your alluvial. That's going to be amazing just for you. And obviously, the grand prize, of course, is that your alluvial will be in the actual game, immortalized forever. I mean, just imagine if you were able to create, for example, one of the Gen 1 Pokemon, for example, and it was immortalized there in Pokemon forever. Gen freaking 1. This is your chance to do that. Set 1 Illuvials. Be able to create a piece of metaverse history here. Seriously, this is a big deal, and I think this is really exciting, and we can't wait to see what all of you put together. And so, in order for you to wrap your heads around what is required to come up with an alluvial concept, you need to understand more about alluvials. And we're going to talk about the systems, the synergies, affinities, and classes with alluvials right now. And let's do a deep dive with Aaron, where he will talk about that with us and walk us through how all of those things work. Grant, do you want to hang around for this one, or you want me to boot you off the screen? Do you want to pick your nose?
I mean, you can boot me off, but can I just say that I don't think that 3 hours with Aaron is considered a prize.
That's so messed up. I'm gonna boot you out of here. This is Aaron's time to shine and talk about this game design, and you're just crapping
Peace
all
out.
over him. All right, Grant, you go pick your nose. I'll bring you back in a minute to talk about design stuff. Grant will be back in a minute, guys, to talk about the aesthetics of Illuvials. So, Aaron,
He is right. It's going to be more like homework than anything you've ever done in your life. So
you take it away and
build
walk us
them.
through this.
Yeah, the way that we build an alluvial is, first of all, we start with a concept that is, as I said, based on either an endangered or extinct animal, because that's the theme that we have for the set. It's important for people to understand that across every game that we do, the backbone of all of the games that we produce will be the alluvial NFTs. That is the most important part of the ecosystem. So if we were to do a kart racing style game, you would be able to take your NFTs and you might have Ramfire sitting in a little tiny cart driving around a track. So it's important when you're thinking of these things to think long term about how it would fit into a whole bunch of other genres as well. So once we do that, we come up with an idea for a particular endangered animal or an extinct animal. I think that Kieran actually came up with a lot of these, and also Grant and Roger. I didn't really do that many myself. That's not really where I'm the best. I'm certainly not the most creative on the team. But your job is to come up with something that we can turn into an alluvial. And then there's certain characteristics that we need that alluvial to have. The first thing is the combat stats. Now, there's too many combat stats to go into here, and we don't need to go through all of them. I think inside of the game, we have something like 35 different combat stats. What I mean by that is something like attack speed, movement speed, energy cost, all of these sort of things. That's not the sort of stuff that we're interested in for this competition, because all of that can be edited for balance and will need to be edited for balance. For example, if you say you want your alluvial to, every time it hits something, it just wins the match for you, obviously we're not going to make it that OP. But the point is that you have to think about it in terms of what sort of utility it's going to bring to the game. We have tanks, we have attackers, we have those that can access the back line. There's a whole bunch of different types of units. And so you've got to position it as giving it a role inside of the game. Once you've done that, we need to give it a class and an affinity. These are probably the most important parts of it. The affinity and class are two orthogonal systems that we use to allow you to counter your opponents, as well as building up a team together that becomes stronger over time. So you might pick, say, water. That's one of the primary affinities. It gives certain benefits that I'm going to go into in a second. And if you went fire, it would have different benefits. So you've got to position it as a particular type of unit that has a particular affinity and a particular class. There are 5 primary affinities and 5 primary classes. Once you have chosen those, you've got to decide how it fuses over time. Remember, you're actually going to be building a line, which means stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. We're not after anything that's similar to the links or the tier 0 lines. We do want it to progress as most of the alluvials do. That means by the time you bring it up to stage 3, we need it to have a composite synergy and a composite class. So for example, Ramfire is an Inferno affinity. That means that it's a composite of fire and fire. So it's double fire. And its class is Slayer, which is a composite of the primary classes of Fighter and Rogue. So you have to decide what you want the stage 3 to be, as well as the preceding stages. It's up to you to decide at stage 2 which one gets to become a composite class first. So it could be that you pick the affinity, you could pick the class. It's totally up to you. Then we need to go into once you've picked them, you have to work out what is the attack ability of the character. and what is the Omega ability of the character. So every character is effectively built based off of data, which is their combat stats, their affinity, their class, and then there's the two abilities that they get. If anyone's played other auto battlers, it's fairly standard for the genre. The way that ours works is every time you do an attack ability, you gain a little bit of energy. As you gain it all the way up to the top, you'll eventually hit the trigger point, which is when you've reached your energy cost. And that's when you'll do your Omega ability. These are the huge game-changing abilities. Things like raining fire down from the sky. Atlas puts a giant water shield, which keeps him alive for a lot longer. Malura dives down into the ground and taunts all of the enemies with the flower that it has. And then it pops out of the ground doing a big AoE damage. This is where you get to go nuts and come up with something that is really interesting. The attack abilities in the game are something that happen just repeatedly, just like any normal game. You can decide whether or not your character is melee or ranged. If it's ranged, then it'll have a little projectile that'll come out and go across the battlefield. If it's melee, it'll be hitting your opponents directly. But one thing that we've made different in our game is that the actual range of the character is completely separated from that. If you want a character to be melee, but do the attack all the way across the field, sort of like with a big chain or something like that, you could absolutely do that. If you want to have a ranged character that has a projectile, but you want them to be very short range and just have a tiny little pulse, you could do that too. We're looking for something that's as creative as possible while still functioning in the game with a particular role in mind. It's got to have some niche where you've got this fantasy of it being able to win battles, but then you also have to put on the other side of it the chance for it to lose battles if you put it into certain circumstances. So once you've built out the combat stats and the attack ability, the Omega ability, and the synergies, then we just have to talk about the hyperactive category in our game. One thing that we do
Let's
that
hit
no
pause
other game.
there really quick, Aaron. Hit pause really quick and just review the types of things everybody's going to need to consider that you just went over.
Yep.
So you talked about affinities and classes.
Yes.
And so at stage 1.
Yep. There'll be primary affinity, primary class.
Got it. Stage 1, primary affinity and primary class. For those of you that are trying to enter, write that down. Then once they enter stage 2, you're going to select your composite.
Yeah, it could be, you could keep them as a primary affinity or a primary class, but one of them needs to upgrade to composite.
Then once they reach stage 3, will both be composite, both their affinity and their class?
Yes, that's correct. Once they're at stage 3, that's when they've reached the pinnacle and they've effectively ascended, and that's where they get their biggest damage in the game.
Got it. Stage 1, primary affinity and class. Stage 2, select either affinity and class as composite. Then stage 3, both affinity and class will be composite. So you guys will need to communicate that in your 60-second video. Then you covered the Omega ability. Yes. So you mentioned a moment ago, the options are potentially movement-based abilities, shielding abilities, damaging abilities.
Yes.
Really the possibilities aren't necessarily endless, but they can be very creative with these. These just don't have to be a damaging attack necessarily, right?
Exactly. We have a very robust system that allows us to use data to turn it into those abilities. So if you want the attack ability to knock the opponent up into the air or knock them back or burn them or create a big nuke around a bunch of people, there's literally endless possibilities. Inside of our game, attack abilities and Omega abilities are functionally identical. The only thing that changes is what triggers them. An attack ability is something that happens over and over, whereas the Omega ability gets triggered once you reach your energy peak. So the idea is that they can come up with anything. We will try as best as we can to implement something into our combat engine if we don't have it already. Part of it is you're going to have to trust us that we can build it. I mean, obviously, if you make something incredibly elaborate that might not fit into the system, we might tone it back a little bit. But I don't want people to be limited by what they've seen so far. Come up with whatever they think would be the coolest thing possible.
Got it. That makes sense. And then the last one is melee versus ranged. I know a lot of
Mhm.
people think ranged is better just automatically, right? Because it's
Yep.
OP and you can
Yep.
put it in the back, but that's not necessarily the case. And so when you're
Nope.
coming up with your concept, you should be thinking about
Yes.
how the entire package is going to contribute towards a
Yeah. Yeah.
ranged or
Yep.
melee
Yeah.
build.
Part of our balancing is that if it's a ranged character, technically we call it projectile deployment. We'll probably balance it by making the combat stats just a little bit lower than a melee character, just because the melee characters tend to get hit a lot more often. But in this game, there's no kiting. You don't have that level of control over it. You have to position them initially, and then away you go. The other thing that people need to remember is that all of the rogue primary and all of the rogue composite classes, they have a special ability at the start which blinks them onto the back line and does specific extra abilities. So if you come up against, say, a composite scion rogue, when it blinks to the back line, it'll do a large AoE nuke as soon as it gets there. So if you pick that ranged character, don't expect to be super safe, because someone could be right on your tail straight away.
Counters to everything,
Yeah,
especially with rogue countering range characters. That makes sense.
exactly.
Okay, got it. Thank you for clarifying those. You were just going to go into yet another layer of design
Yep.
considerations for everyone who wants to enter the video contest. So
Yes.
take it away.
So this is new information that no one knows yet, except the game design team. Even our devs don't know this yet, so I apologize, devs. Um, our hyper system at the moment is being overhauled slightly to become something much cooler. The way that it will work is every character that you place onto the battlefield will have a sense of like an aura. And so, for example, if you're a fire character and you're in the range of an enemy nature character, then you will actually increase your hyperactive meter much faster, because fire combats nature. Whereas if instead you had a water is combated by the nature, so you would actually gain your hyper much slower. It's a race against the clock to try and reach a full hypermeter. Once you get there, you actually upgrade both of your attack abilities and your Omega abilities. So what you had initially gets a tiny little bit of a boost. It could be that there's a new effect that gets added to it. It could be that it gets increased range. It could be anything that you can think of. But effectively, this makes the character become what we call hyperactive. So they're just much stronger, right? So if you want, you can have a character that is fairly weak at the start, but when it goes hyperactive, it becomes really strong. You can have something that has a much more steady curve with it. But the point is, you'll be watching these battles to see which of the characters goes hyperactive first, because it could be the difference between winning and losing.
Okay, got it. So is it fair to say, or is it a fair summary to say that the hyper system is essentially a complex counter system? And so you're going to
Yes.
be thinking of countering the enemy team because you're going to want to essentially trigger this hyper, or the Illuvial goes hyper. Is that correct? Or
Yeah,
they
yeah.
are hyper? Is that the correct
Yeah,
way to say
triggering
it?
the hyper is absolutely the right way to say it. Once you get triggered, you're then hyperactive. We're going to put a VFX on them to make people understand. Boom! This is the absolute peak that this character can be in. And if it happens early, they could just rampage through the battle, or tank for a much longer period of time, or heal for a much more effective health. There's endless possibilities. Again, our system is so configurable and so quick that once we've got the code base built, it's really just a matter of changing numbers on a spreadsheet.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay. So that's yet another consideration. Write that down. what does that hyper look like? Think about what this Illuvial you're imagining is going to counter. Are there other design considerations that we want all of our community designers to think about here, or is that the sum of it?
From a mechanics point of view, that's all they need to consider. There's obviously many more mechanics in the game, but they're not something that is relevant to the design of these characters. The only thing that's important from then on is making sure that it's visually super cool and unique, and that's something that Grant is probably best to comment on and guide people through.
Got it. And we're going to go over Grant's bit here in just a minute for him to go over the design of Illuvials for you all to consider. So just a quick review, and correct me if I'm saying something wrong, Aaron. You're going to come up with the stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 affinity and class for your Illuvial.
Mm-hmm.
Stage 1, primary, affinity and class. Stage 2, you're going to pick a composite that's going to trigger at stage 2 or be a part of your stage 2. And then at stage 3, both your affinity and your class will be a composite.
Yes.
Next, you're going to come up with a concept, a cool one, for an Omega ability, which is basically their ultimate ability and ultimate attack. Could be movement, could be teleporting, could be damage, could be shielding, could be the sky's the limit.
Yep.
You're going to choose melee versus ranged.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, you're going to come up with the hyper or the counter system, the way that this Illuvial will be countering the enemy team when it goes hyper. That's what you're looking for, and you want people just to deliver that bang, bang, bang in the 60-second video and hit you with something super interesting.
Yep, you'll say attack ability, hyper attack ability, Omega ability, hyper Omega ability, class, affinity, what line it is, what sort of character you've inspired it from, whether or not it be an ant or something like that, but it must be something that is either endangered or extinct.
Okay, there you go. That's your summary of what Aaron's looking for. He's the man that's picking this. Obviously, other people are going to give input. But wait, there's more. Hopefully, we can pull him up in an embarrassing moment. Oh well, we tried. Grant is going to talk about
here for 20 minutes. What the hell?
Sorry, man. All right. Now we need to talk about the aesthetic element of Illuvials, and we're going to give Grant the floor to talk about that. Aaron, if it's cool with you, I'll boot you out for just a minute so Grant can cover his stuff, and then just let me know if you want to jump in and talk smack at some point. And then we've got Illuvium, we've got Illuvial trivia, as well as Q&A after that. So thank you, Aaron. We'll bring you back in a minute, man.
Cheers.
Maybe you can bring Aaron's.
Oh, hold on. He wants to. I think he wants to insult you. Really,
I wanted
to insult you real
quick in the
quick.
chat because people were mentioning Aaron's beautiful daughter in the background, but I just want to confirm that's actually a recent photo of Kieran. So people are a little bit confused there.
Kieran isn't even here. He gets the insults. Very nice.
Okay. Do you want to bring up my Pure Ref screen?
You're gonna take the lead here, amigo. I know you have some interesting things that nobody's ever seen before. Okay, I really am gonna make you go away for real this time, Aaron. Okay, I'm gonna let you take it away. So for those of you that don't know Grant is basically the person who is the lead behind the aesthetic and the branding and this kind of gorgeous look that you see in Illuvium. Obviously, a lot of talented people work with Grant. And today, you're gonna provide us insights on how a little bit of the story behind how we reach the aesthetic that we have today and some of the thinking and the design decisions that go behind the aesthetic of the Illuvials themselves. So the audience can think about this when they pitch, here's what I want the aesthetic of my Illuvial to be. So they're thinking like you think, right?
Mm-hmm. So when the project first started, we didn't really know the direction it was going because the first couple of weeks we were working with just some random artists online trying to do Kieran's project. This is before Aaron came on, just trying to create basically just another one of those crappy NFT projects that has no utility and it's just a bunch of art. And when Aaron came on and we realized that we needed to make a fully fledged game, we had to start figuring out the direction the game was going. And I think in that early period, we didn't have a community and there wasn't really much known about what we were doing super early on. So how do I share how do I get the pure ref up? The screen sharing that I'm doing.
Just like
Yeah,
this.
perfect.
There you go, amigo. Take it away.
Okay, so like this software called PureRef has been like fundamentally the core of how we ideate anything visual in the game. It's incredibly powerful software where you can copy paste images from online directly in. You can arrange things by size. You can tag things and share these files with other artists on the project. And any good art director early on in a project will basically scrape together just thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of art and then just start narrowing in on what you actually want to do. So in Illuvium's case, we were very lucky early on to have Roger on the concepting side, who is an absolute freak. And interestingly enough, this is like a little mini leak here. When I didn't find Roger, I believe Aaron or Kieran found Roger early on. And this was like super, super early where I was like very protective of hiring people. And this was the first person from the art side that was hired that I wasn't involved in. So I was a little bit skeptical, which is interesting because when I first saw Roger's portfolio, I was like, is this like the right portfolio for Illuvium? And I was a little bit like, but it turned out to be just the best thing ever because having Roger early on made sure that we could ideate things super quickly. He's just freakishly fast. But then on the other side of things, we had Alex, who is my friend from when we were 15 years old, when I first started CGI. So we had a freak concept artist and a freak sculptor to kind of tie things together. And the first thing we all did was basically find stuff that we all personally liked and then pushed it together into one pure ref file. And that's this file here, where you can see we've got some of Roger's references that he found of just different characters, just a whole bunch of stuff. And this is dating back to 2020, I believe, just before the end of 2020. And we putting together a whole bunch of references of environments and characters. You can see these are some of the ones that Roger found. Then there's some of the references that I found, just going through, and you can see from day one the style that we tried to achieve, that semi-stylized but realistic look and feel, was kind of at the heart of like the visual style of the game. Everything had to be colorful, very clear and concise, and also last the test of time. One of the problems I think a lot of games make, and this is where I had to do things differently to how I would typically do them, because up until this project, my passion was focusing on photorealism in CGI, not necessarily stylized stuff. But like, you have to make decisions that are going to be the best for the project, and that involved trying to make sure that everything was going to look good 10 years from now. And to achieve that, you just need to make sure that you can't see polygons on the characters and you can't see the low res textures. Apart from that, everything just falls into that nice kind of Warcraft style. And I personally believe where we're at now with the whole process, we've achieved that. I think in 10 years' time, you'll be able to look back on Illuvium and people won't be saying, oh, the graphics don't hold up to modern graphics, because we're not trying to. We're not trying to make them next gen in that regard. But in this so this is the pure ref file. This is the very pure ref file that we were working with. And I had to remove a few things because there were some leaks in here, some characters that we haven't revealed yet. But like, you can see these are some of the sketches, and you can see how over time, it goes from early on just scribbling stuff and just blotting stuff out to like fully fledged, refined characters. Here are some of the super early concepts that Roger was working on early on. Still think we should get a guy like that in there. But I mean, I think this is super cool because this is like day one stuff. This is the original thylacine that we had. See Roger's, not Roger's, it's not Roger's signature there. But, this is some of the cool stuff that we were working on really early on. And this is what we would expect when submitting stuff for the character concept, the the contest. We don't need stuff like this. We would expect just scribbles like this, concepts like this.
That makes sense. So somebody just helping give you the gist of what the
Yeah,
look would be, or
exactly.
even a reference to something that's already out there and maybe their favorite
Exactly.
video game, and say something like it's kind of like this character from World of Warcraft plus this
Exactly.
character from whatever, just to help
Hmm.
you understand
Yep.
the composition.
And the other thing is too, if you're not the best drawer, I know there's going to be 3 hours working with Aaron, but we should probably adjust that so both Roger, Aaron, and myself are on the call, because if you're not the best artist, but you have a really cool concept for a character that we think is going to work, you can work with Roger to, flesh it out and make it a little bit more, complete with shading and lighting and stuff like that. So
Let
I
me
think
ask
it's
you a
going to be quite
question.
exciting.
With all of these people kind of working remotely on with sharing all of these concepts, sharing all of these reference materials, sharing all of these ideas,
Yeah.
how did you, kind of as the central person to decide the final aesthetic, how do you find that middle ground or that final look, or make that final decision on, like, okay, this is
Yep.
what Illuvium is? Can you go into
Yep.
that decision making of like how you finalize that? Because I can see that everything on that board is in the same realm, similar as like, throwing an inspiration image up or a mood board on Pinterest or whatever. But how do
Hmm.
you narrow it down to a very concise and a very purposeful brand like Illuvium?
Yep. Well, that's where finding the middle ground, Aaron would prefer to go with something that's more like TFT, which is just very 2D looking and not focused on the graphics, more just core gameplay. And my mentality is just do the craziest shit possible. Go as high fidelity, high detail, next gen, high tech as physically possible. And then we have to find the middle ground. And we actually settled on one key reference image for the entire project. And this was done by an artist in 2020 working on some UE4 stuff when UE4 just started to get some really nice water shaders. And basically, the whole aesthetic for the entire game, the characters, the environments, was based on this one image. This was like the hero reference that we said it's gonna stand the test of time. All of the detail is easily identifiable in the environments. The characters pop off the environments. The textures are stylized, and you also can't see polygons. One of the things I hate about games that I feel takes you out of the world is just seeing the underlying geometry that makes up those assets. And doing really soft and stylized edging and highlights on plants and characters avoids that look, and it just becomes more artistic. So whoever the artist was who worked on this, it's been a year and a half now since I've focused on this. Uh, they are the hero inspiration for the entire project. And if you look at some of the stuff we're doing now, like if you take a look at this image, and let me share my screen in the overworld. Illuvium.
Got it. So just to clarify there, so you and obviously your co-founders are thinking of Illuvium as a 10-year, 15-year
Absolutely.
plus IP. And so by
Absolutely.
making those style choices on day 0 to make the IP last the test of time, that's how this brand, that's how this aesthetic can be relevant in the year 2035 and not look outdated
Mhm.
and require constant refreshes and branding refreshes and
Exactly.
graphics refreshes.
Exactly. Like
Okay.
that, the talk has come up many times now about, do we swap to Unreal Engine 5? And these are the types of things where if you went with a realistic style of graphics, we'd be screwed, because we're on the brink of Unreal Engine 5 coming out, which is way, way better for photorealism, and our game would already look outdated. Whereas the workflow that we have now bakes down from the ray traced version to this. And if you notice in the streams that I was running around with about a month ago, when I was just working on the lighting with the team on Crimson Waste, the issue was that things were really slow. And I was always saying to the community that we're going to bake things down and it's going to look the exact same. And now we've done that, and the frame rate is absolutely buttery smooth. Now, I do have a good GPU, but essentially we've solved the performance issues now, and it's just coming down to this artistic style. And to me, I think it's absolutely stunning. I think the work
Oh
this
my
team
god,
has
I have
done.
not seen this version of this. Wow,
Yeah,
look
no,
at those
it is.
lighting effects in
And
there, man. That looks
this is
nuts.
still heavily work in progress on many different fronts in terms of like plants needing VFX and stuff like that. But if you take a look at the style, right, and then you'd cut back to, I know I can't do it here because I can't share two screens at once. You cut back to that hero reference. We've stuck to that pretty closely, and I just think it's incredible. Everything is just. I'm really excited for people to jump in and see the world we've created. And I mean, just look at this. It's stupid.
Yeah, so for those people that aren't familiar with Illuvium yet, that are watching this is what you'll experience in the overworld
This is
in
it.
Illuvium.
This is the overworld. Like, this is what you'll be seeing. And the difference between low spec systems and high spec systems will simply come down to the geometry count on the assets and the texture resolution. Everything else is pretty, like, we've removed all of those complex settings with ray tracing and all the slowdown elements. We've tried to make this as unified as possible. So someone on a medium spec laptop gets it's the same look and feel, just lower fidelity, lower res textures and geometry, but it's the same aura, it's the same feeling. And so, like, we're hitting this point now where that year and a half we've spent ideating stuff is coming together. And then I'll go back to the pure ref file. Just brought that up there.
I'll pull it up for you. There you go.
It's a similar look and feel. And this type of art, to do this type of really clean and easily identifiable style, it's very hard to do because you are battling between two different styles. You're not going fully stylized and you're not going super high detail. But in terms of the characters, let me show you. I've got ZBrush up, and I've got one of the first statue that we're going to release as part of the giveaways to the community. If you remember in Character Leaks, I was mentioning we just got this brand new Form 3L printer, which is the best industry resin printer. I'll share my ZBrush screen, and this is something that Alex has worked on.
Grant's bringing the fire today. You guys enjoying this in live chat?
So this
He's
is
bringing all kinds of stuff.
Alex has been working on this for a month, and this is what I mean. Like, early on, we had Roger, myself, and Alex together as a team, and then Aaron on the other side to make sure that the data and the functionality of the characters work. But from a visual point, having that trio of Alex, Roger, and myself is just incredible because we're all freaks at what we do in our own fields, and we've just merged them together into these, like, truly just crazy. Like, Alex is the best ZBrush sculptor in the world, in my opinion. He can do Leonardo da Vinci level stuff. It's really crazy. Like, the work he does, the cleanliness of it all is just crazy. And interestingly enough, this is a kind of cool character line to talk about because we were very open to trying different things to figure out how to actually design the Illuvials early on. It was like I was doing very crappy sketches, and I'm nowhere near as good a sketcher as Roger, not even close. But, like, I was doing rough ideated sketches, sending them to Roger. And early on, we did Axon, the stage 3 before stage 1. And Alex designed and created Atlas stage 1 entirely himself from zero concepts. He just took axolotl references from the real world, and he just went and designed Atlas, who I feel is our most iconic character and the cutest. But early on, I guess we just got a little bit lucky with all the people that joined the project because everyone has been able to maintain this super high quality, and that's what's starting to show now. And as the private beta starts, from the graphics point of view, I think we're well and truly there. I don't think there's going to be a single comment in any of the beta testers' notes about graphics unless it's a bug or something like that. But in terms of the quality we've set out to achieve, I think we've done that. And I've got another one of the other things. Let me just see if I can bring
But
this
wait,
up.
there's more. People are asking, and we could cover this in the Q&A. They're like, when can I buy this thing? And will it be painted? And can I
will
put it
be
on my
painted.
desk right now? It will be painted. Okay.
Yeah. I've actually got it already printed. Give me 1 second. I'll go grab it. I'll show it on the 1 sec.
No way. Okay, he's gonna go grab it right now. You guys asked for it. He's gonna go grab it right now. My guess is this is like a prototype or something that he's had created. Let's see what he's gonna bring on over for you guys to check out. All right, cool. Let's bring Aaron back in here as well.
Here we go.
We've got.
There we go.
There he is.
Here, I'll full screen you.
I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, just hold it still for a minute so everybody can check it out. So was this 3D printed in your house, or like in a facility, or in your house, or in your house, or how'd you get that, man?
I have 3 industrial printing machines in my apartment now, which is interesting because one of the wash baths, when you print them, you have to wash away the excess framing that like supports it, and that's like a giant alcohol bath of just like isopropyl alcohol. And I've been like waking up at night, and like if the wind's wrong, I'm getting these whiffs of like alcohol coming through. I think it's causing some form of brain damage. But yeah, this will be the very first sculpt. Alex was the first artist on the team, official artist. So I thought it'd be fitting that, you know, the first print, the first giveaway to the community is by Alex. It's a combination of myself, Roger, and Alex's work. And it's just incredible. Like just seeing this stuff here now, it's just so cool. And this is actually small compared to the final one. The final one will be a bit bigger, like 30 centimeters tall. So very exciting, but also let me share.
Hold on, there's even more.
Can I just say that originally when we were looking at stylized versus real, I thought we would have to make a compromise somewhere in the middle, but I think anyone who saw that Crimson Waste environment would realize that Grant has just gone well beyond, and we've somehow got something that is stylized and real without compromise, and it's just utterly ridiculous. Every time I look at it, I'm completely blown away. And I'm a competitive guy. I'm trying to make the gameplay as good as we can possibly make it so that I can say that I've contributed, but it's going to be maybe impossible for me to get the gameplay to as good as that artwork is.
Aw, look at that love.
Slightly different dynamic than with Kieran on the call. Slightly different. But this is another pure, and this is, as you can see, everything starts with pure ref files. And when you're dealing with remote artists, you need to make sure that everyone is looking at the same things. And so every single character that was ideated has a reference board. And if you were to go in and design one of the characters, you can see here that, you know, the first thing we do is bring up a bunch of varied references for the character, because obviously the big thing with our world and our characters was that everything was inspired by extinct or near extinct animals, trying to make a statement that over the next 5-10 years, as this IP becomes bigger, that was the foundation. And that was, I think, Aaron's idea early on. That wasn't my idea. So I love that. I love the fact that we've built these characters based on animals that are, you know, endangered. I think it makes things more relevant. And it's just really cool. It's really cool to see how things have progressed.
Yeah, the idea behind that was we needed to make something that was alien, but we wanted to also give it a little bit of familiarity. So we started with animals that were extinct because they sort of combine that little bit of you sort of know them, but at the same time they're very weird compared to others. And then when Kieran decided that we were going to go from 50 up to 150 Illuvials, it became a little bit more difficult to find cool extinct ones that we could fit into set one. So we sort of, dampened it down and said, well, we'll accept stuff that's endangered as well.
Kieran and I always wanted 150 characters at the start, by the way. We both wanted the Pokemon set one. It's like, if it's not broken, don't change it. But the problem you had, it wasn't that it was how many do we release on launch? That was always the question. But from day one, it was 150, exactly the same as Pokemon. And I guess that brings up another topic of like, how do we make 150 characters varied? And also, the other thing that we had to factor in was everyone on this project, and I can tell from the chat, loves Pokemon and was heavily inspired by that as a kid, but we're not kids anymore. The people that love Pokemon at 15 are now 35, 40 years old, and it's not going to hit the same having that same art style. So it's like we had to take just enough elements from Pokemon, but then truly make it our own. And it's like, how do we make an adult version of that? Which I think we have achieved. I think, we've done that.
Fantastic. Is there anything else you want to share about the aesthetics of Illuvials? Otherwise, we need to challenge our audience to some Illuvial trivia.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of just want to run around the environment for another 30 minutes, but...
Hey, why don't you give us a few more minutes of beautiful shinies? We'll throw that up on the screen and ooh and ah over it, and then we'll do some Illuvium or some Illuvial
you guys can go. Because I think maybe we should do another one where it's just focusing on the environment.
Okay, we can do an environment
We're nearly
one.
there. We're nearly there with Crimson. I just wanted a sneak peek and let people know that it's going really, really good. So, like, everyone's have to be patient, but we are delivering on this stuff. So,
got it. That makes sense. Okay, so everybody, it is time now for Illuvial trivia. So 50 of you will be able to, and I'm going to put it up on the screen in just a moment, go to the link that's on the screen and enter the code that I'm going to put on the screen and actually be able to buzz in to participate in Illuvial trivia. And everybody else can just type in your answers in chat to participate and have fun along with us, but only 50 can actually buzz in, and I'm going to bring you in, and it's going to be like a real live Illuvial game show. We're going to test your knowledge and see whether you were, we didn't actually go over any of the answers to any of these questions in the live stream. We'll just see if you've been paying attention to Illuvium on Discord and on socials and everywhere else outside of this stream and see how much you have it together. So there it is. So on the screen, you're going to see that URL. You can pull that up on your mobile phone. You can pull that up on desktop, triviamaker.com/buzz. And when you do that, you type in that code that's on the screen right there, 427728, and it'll just pull up a web interface in your web browser. And then you guys will be able to buzz in and participate live in this 10-question Illuvial trivia that we've put together. So I'll give you guys just a minute to go ahead and do that and to hop into the queue here. I'm starting to see some of you guys hopping into the queue, waiting for players to join right here, and then come hop in and we will get you in on this trivia. There it is. Already got some players jumping in. Perfect. Everyone get in here. Yeah, so we've got a couple gimme questions. Looks like Moo's joined, Eric's joined, but we've got a couple gimme questions here, like name that Illuvial. But then we've got some much more difficult questions as well, and they will all be multiple choice. So for those of you that are watching in live chat, you guys can just guess and spam and stuff like that and have fun along with us. So it'll be fun regardless. Here we go. You guys are starting to, oh my gosh, I think we're going to get all 50. We've got 25 players, 27 players, 30 players, whole 32. Okay, I'm going to give it a minute. It's filling up. We've got almost 50 players. Holy moly. Look at this list over here. Who's going to win? Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this. Whoever wins will get, sorry, Aaron, I don't know if I told you this. Whoever wins is going to get like a Discord tag or something like that of like Trivia Master. You're cool with that?
I've already made it. Yep.
Oh, he's already made it. Okay. So if you win, you get like, it's just a fun aesthetic thing on our Discord of Trivia Master. There's only one of these available per week when we do Illuvium Insider. So this is going to be a rare opportunity to show everyone else that you're better than them. Perfect. Okay, we've got 50 players here, locked and loaded. Holy moly. Okay, so many. Gonna hit start, and we're gonna get this thing going here. Perfect. And there it goes. All right, so the first question. So correct me if I'm wrong on the pronunciation here. Is it Ripturus or Repturus?
Ripturus.
It's Ripturus. Okay. Ripturus.
We all said different stuff.
Yeah, all three different. Oh, boy. Well, anyway, Ripturus, previously named Ripper, is what stage of the sea scorpion line. So everybody who's got their buzzers in hand, when I click the button right here, I'm going to activate your buzzers, and you'll be able to guess A, stage 1, B, stage 3, C, stage 0, or D, stage 2. Looks like it's mixed up the answers. I'm going to activate your buzzers right now, and we're going to see who buzzes in first. And then whoever buzzes in first, looks like Meister buzzed in first. They will get a chance to answer for us live. Meister, I'm clicking you. Here is your chance to select your answer and see if you got it correct. They selected stage 2, which was correct, and Meister jumps into the lead with 100 points. Good job, nailing that on the first try. I actually think you lose points if you get these wrong, so there is a trade-off if you incorrectly guess. Perfect. That's question 1. Meister jumps into the lead. Next question. What is the name of Riptorus's ultimate / omega attack? And here are your choices. Let me know, Aaron, what you think of the bogus options I came up with. Poison Bolt, Viral Wave, Deadly Fang, and Toxic Skewer. I went to thesaurus.com today. And now I'm going to activate your buzzers. Community, will you get this right, or will you embarrass yourself eternally? No way. Meister was the first person to buzz in again? Is this kid like
god.
next door to me with his internet? Okay, let's see if Meister is going to get this one right. So just so you guys know, it shows me a queue.
You're hired.
Toxic Skewer was the correct answer. Oh my gosh, is this going to be like a Ken Jennings situation? We're just like, we have some kind of Illuvium super genius in here who's just going to crush everybody. Meister with 200 points. Aaron, is that you?
He's going to be hired.
He's going to be hired.
We've made jokes of somewhere out there's like a patient X who's going to be the greatest player of all time.
And chat has been guessing tons and tons of guesses, lots of letter D guesses in chat. So you guys were doing a pretty good job of guessing. So, all right, perfect. Next question. That's 2 questions so far. But can you do question number 3? I think this is the easiest question out of all of them. So everybody, get your finger on your buzzer button. Let's see if you can beat Meister to the punch. What is the name of this insanely adorable Illuvial? Atmos, Atlas, Aatrox, or Ethlizard? Activating buzzers now. Everyone buzz in. Let's see who gets in there first. Let's see. Oh, it's not Meister this time. It is Mr. Meme. So Mr. Meme, here's your chance to either embarrass yourself or get 100 points. And the answer they selected was... Go ahead and choose your answer, amigo. I think the system's pretty cool. This isn't a bad trivia system. People can do this remotely around the world. It's pretty cool. Mr. Meme.
He's just making sure.
Ding, ding.
Do you want to phone a friend?
Ding, 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 ding.
Call Meister.
All right. Mr. Meme did not answer. So we're going to go with Mr. Fancy Sam. Mr. Fancy Sam, here is your chance to choose the answer. And there it is. They chose B, Atlas. Mr. Fancy Sam coming in with the 100 points, moving into second place. Very good. That was the easiest question, by the way. Some of these are going to be brutally difficult. Next question. This is Dash. Though an Illuvial can be found in several biomes, in the past, we have said Dash can be found in a red and desolate biome. Name that biome. Thesaurus.com has produced some bogus answers. Can you wade through them? Maroon Ruins, Flaming Decay, Coral Havoc, Crimson Waste. Activating buzzers now. And let's see what live chat is coming up with on this one. Oh, y'all are Googling the answers? Come on. Linky thinks it's Crimson Waste. The audience thinks it's D. Are they trolling? Morador is on there. Very good.
Eat lizard.
The answer is eat lizard. All right, perfect. These are some good hints from the audience. Thank you, audience. Blue Ocean, very good. Okay, anyway, we got a lot of trolls out there. Okay, the first person to ring in is EDU9727. EDU, here's your chance to put 100 points on the board. Can he get it correct? Crimson Waste, ding, 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 ding. Tied for second at 100 points. Well done. Very good, everybody. All right. Last year, we tweeted that Dash was the real blank. Fill in the blank. Your choices are Thing, Doge, Sheeb, or Elon. I hope you guys can get this one right. Activating buzzers now.
I think it was the real Slim Shady.
Oh, that's it. I screwed this one up. Ethlizard is the guess in chat.
I'm feeling for the people with lag because I'm experiencing it myself. Not that I know the answers to any of these questions, but...
People are guessing Sheeb in chat. Slim Shady. The real McCoy, says Chain Hand Gaming. Okay. Thank you, audience, for being super helpful again. And the first person to ring in was Adrian Bieda. Adrian, here's your chance to gain internet fame and 100 internet super points. Doge was the correct answer. That's right. The real Doge. Dash is the real Doge. Very good. You know basic things about memes. Now, this is a question that Aaron came up with. So this one's kind of like half joke.
Oh,
obviously.
No, this is dead serious.
Oh, it's dead serious. Okay.
This was part of a 3-week trivia contest that went all the way through till the end of February, where no one could understand what we were talking about when I was hinting at a particular sort of a EV killer.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm learning something here in trivia. Okay, got it. So the question is, why are lynxes like Baskin-Robbins? If you don't have Baskin-Robbins where you live, as you can see, they serve ice cream. Answers: 31 flavors, 31 toppings, 31 calories, or 31 colors. Let's see if chat knows the answer, and let's activate buzzers.
They taste delicious. It's one of the answers.
Perfect.
Because you can eat lynx. Lactose intolerant? Question mark.
I believe that they do taste delicious, though. We did put that into the game, right, Grant?
Yeah.
All right.
Just like we put Dokas on the ship and swimming mechanics.
All right, perfect. Thank you, chat, for being so helpful. And let's go ahead and choose one of... Mr. Fancy Sam rang in first this time. So, Mr. Fancy Sam, here's your chance to get 100 points. 31 flavors. That was the correct answer.
31 years of Aaron making us wait for the explanation.
All right, so do you want to give the full explanation here, Aaron?
So originally, I hinted at a particular character, and I alluded to Baskin and Robbins, hoping that people would get it, that they had 31 flavors, and we had a character of which there was 31 of. There's literally 31 lynxes in the game, and it took a while. It took about, I think, 7 weeks of teasing and hinting, but eventually we got there.
Perfect. All right, there you go. You learn something new every day in trivia. But wait, there's more. What is the Scion composite class? Wow.
You know what's interesting, though? I find hilarious the double-edged sword of Aaron's mistake going with the lynxes. It was to save, like, when we had 150 characters, Aaron was looking for every way possible to, like, con us out of getting 150 unique characters. You know? Just absolutely trying to rug that Gen 1 Pokemon set from us. But the dumbass didn't realize that having to do the fur and hair cards for 31 lynxes is the equivalent of like 100 normal Illuvials. So
I'll have you know that the speed at which they finished all of the lynxes was around about 3 times as fast as everything else. Thank you very much.
but we still don't have fur for all of them, and that's ongoing.
Yeah, but there's other characters that don't have fur too.
You don't have fur.
It's true. Touche.
Moving on, Paul Fasciano is going to guess the answer on this one. Paul, can you get it correct? A lot of people are saying Invoker. Yep. That is correct. It was not Caster, Spellbreaker, or Conjurer. It is Invoker. Congratulations, Paul. 100 points for you. You are one correct answer away from glory. Perfect. I think we're almost done here. We're almost done with these questions. We're getting close to the end and naming a winner. What shape are the tiles on the battle board? This is a screenshot from our gameplay reveal trailer. Grant knows a thing or two about that one.
Not anymore. Well, isopropyl alcohol floating through the air.
Are the tiles hexagonal? Are they rectangular? Are they square or are they triangular? Look really close into your screen at that screenshot and try to figure it out. Activating buzzers.
Just a hint, they're not lizard shaped.
Are they are the Ethlizards all are they dead corpses of Ethlizards smashed together?
They are, but they taste like lynxes.
Sorry, Ethlizards.
Look at this Ethlizard plague has just flowed through the Discord.
I feel like Ethlizards are going to be, it's going to be bigger than Illuvium itself at this speed. All right, perfect. Ooh, I like this guess from Steven. Dectagonal. Wow. That's some next level guessing right there. But we will let the 50. Oh, Adrian, once again with the buzzer. Quick on the buzzer here. Adrian, can you get this correct? Hexagonal was correct. Ding, 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 ding. Excellent work. We've got a 3-way tie for first place. Adrian with 200, Meister with 200, Mr. Fancy Sam for 200. Do we have any questions left? I've lost count. We do. Hope you don't mind me sharing this icon. I found it on Google Drive. All right. What is the tier 0 empath line called? This is like a very hard question in my opinion. This is like an Aaron brutally difficult question. This is maybe the most difficult one. Activating buzzards. Okay.
Yeah, you have to be very, very careful to be able to pick up this one because it's not been revealed in a specific way.
You also have to be very thankful that the testing questions aren't similar to the C++ test that Aaron gave like 15 coders who failed it.
We have a
like,
we
need developers, but they've got to be good. So I'm going to put together a test with Johnny and see how everyone goes. It's 2 weeks later, so Illuvium isn't happening.
we have a bunch of squashed coders in the tiles now.
Adrian,
sorry to derail you.
No, you're not derailing anything. We got to kill time while people buzz in. Adrian again with the fast buzzer press. Is he using NordVPN? Not sponsoring the stream. Is it Atipo? Is it Atril? Is it Attica or Atimpen? How do you pronounce that? How do you pronounce that?
Atipo.
It is Atipo. Okay, got it. Atipo. Atipo. We're gonna have to come up with like an Aaron reading the names of things section of the Illuviary, perhaps, so that we can get all this straight.
I had a God Leak ready to go, all 150, not complete artwork, but just this giant array of all the Illuvials with their cards, just not all the artwork put in. And I'm like, Aaron, can we release this? And he goes, no, the names aren't complete. And now I know why. Because apparently I don't know what any of the fucking names of any of these Illuvials are.
Perfect. Here's the next question. Mozart is just a single configuration of a class of robot. What is the official name? This one is somewhat difficult as well. So I'm going to put up chat. You guys can phone a friend or whatever. You guys can poll the audience on this one to see if you can get this one right. This one's somewhat difficult. Thesaurus.com. Thank you for these choices. Robotic service mech. That cute robot guy. Polymorphic companion drone. Or autonomous subordinate bot. What is the correct answer? And we've got an early buzz in here from Mr. Fancy Sam. Is Mr. Fancy Sam going to take it all?
Ooh.
I had a feeling he was going to pull in.
You think so? Mr. Fancy Sam, can you do it right? Is it that cute robot guy? Mr. Fancy Sam. Everybody's gotten everything correct so far, which I'm surprised. I'm surprised there's no incorrect answers yet. But
they have a horde of people who...
They're freaks, yeah. Polymorphic companion drone. Ding, 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 ding. Mr. Fancy Sam is tied with Adrian Bieda. And we have 2 winners.
Well done.
Is Mr. Fancy Sam Najif plays? Because he's dropping videos of like stuff Aaron doesn't even know.
Very good. Okay. Well done, both of you. Aaron, do you want them to DM you on Discord, or what's the method that you would like to use to get them to get their Trivia Master label onto our Discord?
Yep, they could just ping me inside of general chat, and that'll be enough. And then I'll give them their title.
Perfect.
You know what I think's funny? That we've got people in the chat who are like quite upset about the lag and stuff like that. It's a little bit concerning because now imagine that when you're actually playing Illuvium in the Leviathan arena with a $10,000 NFT on the line, then you get lag.
Well, funnily enough, for both the overworld and for the auto battler, lag is not a consideration. It's completely lag free. So it's gonna be good for everyone. Doesn't matter where you are, what your connection is like. Everybody has an equal opportunity to lose to me.
Perfect. Okay, we are already over time on Illuvium Insider here, so we're going to do a very brief Q&A, and then we're going to call it right there. But we got a lot of extra content from Grant, so I'm happy to go along with that. That was great. So this is your chance to ask relevant questions related to Illuvium, and more specifically, if you ask questions about Illuvials, you are more likely to have your question selected. I will pull it up on screen, and then Grant and Aaron can answer your questions here with this live Q&A. So go ahead and hit us with your Illuvial related questions, and then we'll take it from there. And congratulations. So people thought just a moment ago, just a quick note, some people thought that by typing into live chat on YouTube, that entered you to have the answer count towards the game. That's not how it worked. Only 50 people can play on Trivia Maker. It's just Trivia Maker's platform. So only those people were able to play. Okay. So here's a question from Illuvini. And the question reads, if we put in the time to make more concepts, can we submit multiple entries to the last Illuvial contest?
I think that this is more for you, Andrew, to decide what the rules would be there. My preference would be just pick one and make it good, because we might end up with a flood of 50 from every individual person. So that would be my preference, but it's not something
conceptually that would go against our own internal workflow, which is less is more.
Yeah, I agree. I would like, personally, I just want to ask you, Aaron, to see what your opinion was. But personally, I would like to select your best concept, your most unique concept, your most creative concept that you think is really going to stand out and is really going to be something that we go, wow, they really put some interesting thought behind that one. That really caught our attention. Because we're going to get hundreds of entries, if not 1,000 plus. And so your most unique and most creative concept is the one that we want to see. And being able to concisely deliver that idea to us in a video is very important, because we're going to have to sit here and slog through a lot of probably very bad video explanations. And so if you write down your explanation and you present it very clearly, maybe give us a visual reference to help us understand, it's going to give you a significant advantage with that best concept for you to be selected. Okay. Perfect. All right. The question is where to send in the entries. Just to clarify, if you DM us on Discord, no, please don't do that. If you post it on social media and use hashtag the last Illuvial, that can be on Twitter, that can be on YouTube, that can be on Instagram, that can be on Snapchat, that can be on TikTok. We have social listening tools that can detect the hashtag the last Illuvial, and then we can collect those up, and we will be able to compile all of them to be reviewed at a later time. Also, I talked with Aaron about this before the stream. You can repost, if you will, that social media link to your entry in the community content Discord channel on our Discord server. And it's your job to promote your post and to get it shared by other people and to get people hyped about your particular concept. That probably will influence, if one concept is going viral and people are freaking out about it, that probably will influence some of our decision making, and we'll take a second look at ones that are very popular. Is that fair to say, Aaron?
I think that's fair to say.
There you go. Perfect. So here's a fun one. Here's a fun one. When plushies. So you were talking about that 3D printed statue, but obviously people want merchandise and they want to buy everything Illuvium, right?
Yeah.
We're just trying to get the game out right now, right? Right. Yeah, we can't be too distracted with like a detailed merchandise strategy yet. As you can see, though, we are making considerations, like with that statue, for some things for people to buy, but we're trying to get the game out. We're trying to make it amazing, and we're trying to focus our marketing team too on marketing the game, not marketing plushies right now. You guys would probably us rather knock it out of the park in terms of game marketing, not plushie marketing. But I understand what you're saying. And once we have a very successful game with millions of players, I'm sure we'll have every plushie on under the sun available. Perfect. Let's find another good one.
The short answer is in 2 weeks.
Here's an interesting question. Joseph Wilson asks, Godson, hey, what's up, man? He interviewed me on his channel. Really, really cool creator. Will we see live Illuvials walking around on the map? I think what he's referring to is the overworld. So go ahead.
So there's 2 stages for the overworld that we've planned. The overworld and the arena are effectively 2 separate games where one leverages the other. So at the moment, we have an overworld where we need to have a way to battle the units. Because we are on such a tight deadline, we decided to leverage the arena for that. So the first version of it has you going into a sort of an instance of a battle where you fight them using the auto battler combat engine. But that's not the end state. That's just the beginning state. So for this year, you won't see them out in the overworld, or at least not for the first part of the year. But eventually we're going to, assuming that the council approves it, upgrade the overworld to include them running around, and you would actually be fighting them inside of the world using completely separate mechanics to the auto battler. It'd be much more similar to a game like Monster Hunter or Dauntless or games of that sort of ilk. So you will see it, you just won't see it to begin with.
But there's an in between those two as well, yeah, where I think we spoke about this a few months ago, where to compete with bots, right, coming into the overworld and just scraping all of the data on the Illuvials that are running around. To counter that, when you shoot the encounter space, then the Illuvial spawns in and tries to flee.
Yeah, I wouldn't classify that as like walking around in the world, though. That'll be
Sure,
like a
like
very quick.
if you
Yep.
there's going to be a bunch of these encounter space orbs in the overworld, and this won't be for on launch because there is multiple technical things needed to make that work. But in between the whole Monster Hunter style gameplay, we will have it so that when you fire your tracking dart at one of those orbs, the character then spawns in and tries to run away, and then you see it. Because at that point, you've already hit the encounter. The bot can't scrape that unless they literally shoot all of the encounter spaces.
The long-term strategy is proper inverse kinematic animated running around in the overworld, flying, all of that sort of stuff. It's just a little bit more complex than we have the time for to start off with.
Makes sense. Okay, we're going to take 3 more questions today. And in future episodes of Illuvium Insider, we'll have a longer Q&A. We're just already 21 minutes over time right now, and I want to make sure we're respecting everybody's time. So here's the question. Out of the last 3 questions, what are each of your favorite Illuvials and why?
Grant, you want to go first?
I like Snaily. I like the tier 1 snail.
TNT?
Yeah, I mean, I call him Snaily, but
Yep. That one is amazing. It's like an artillery cannon style of combat unit. My favorite was not supposed to be leaked for a while because it's not done yet, but it has been leaked. Its name is Tiru, and it's a tree kangaroo. And it comes as a pair, which is the big sister and the little sister. The big sister sort of does all of the attacking, and the little sister acts as sort of a support unit on the back line. It's the only one in the game that acts as 2 separate units in one. Maybe some people know Dota. It's a little bit similar to Techies or something like that, but a little bit more separated than that. So yeah, Tiru would probably be my pick for favorite.
How about you, Grant? Oh, you already went over there. Sorry about that. Okay.
His one is called TNT.
TNT. Sorry about that. I was diving into questions.
Okay, fine. His one is now officially called Snaily.
Snaily. Sorry about that. Snaily. Okay.
I've already edited it.
Here's a really interesting question that I haven't heard asked before, but maybe you've gotten it before from Greedy Hamster 86. Will Illuvials have mint numbers so that collectors may want to hunt for early Gen 1 Illuvials in the future? I guess a greater question about how do you understand how early these Illuvials are? Is there any way that it's signified that it's earlier than others so that the rarity is higher and so it's more desirable, et cetera, et cetera? How would you like to answer that?
Kieran and I have failed to answer this question on 4 different AMAs concretely. So I guess the good thing is now that we have Aaron, maybe we can settle this once and for all.
I was going to say, you feel free to answer about the technical limitations of our Illuvial NFT. There is a system that we have called Echoes, which is effectively the achievements of all of the characters. It tracks everything about them. It includes damage done, damage taken, fights or battles won, battles lost. And one of the things that it also includes is the mint number. So yes, they do have a mint number. But it's a much bigger system than just mint number. You'll be able to see on our Illuviary, you'll see which is the highest of any of the categories. So you can buy the Illuvial that has the most takedowns, the most faintings, the most damage dealt. It'll be very extensive. Because of the nature of the blockchain, that data isn't going to be held on the NFT itself, but it's not something that's bound to your account. It's meant to be bound to. So we use a reference to that Illuvial NFT. So it always will stay with it, depending on if you sell it or buy it. It'll stay with the Illuvial, not with the accounts. But it won't be imprinted onto the NFT, at least not for the sort of foreseeable future.
Awesome. Great answer. Thank you. All right, here's a fun one. This is not the real last question, but when Ethlizards invade Illuvium overworld, not a real question, but thank you. Ethlizards have already, I feel, invaded every element of our psyche and our
I reckon one of
server.
the concepts that Roger did that you had on your PureF board could very easily be an Ethlizard.
Oh, they're going in. We're getting.
we're gonna shove one in the game. Perfect. Okay. So here's a real question. And this is our last question for the stream. Thank you to everybody who asked questions. Don't worry, we're doing the show every week, so you'll get your chance to ask more questions in the future. I understand that this is most likely far off, but what are your thoughts on competitive and esports scene? I mean, I have thoughts to share on this, but do you guys want to kick it off?
I think the combination of Aaron, Kieran, and myself will nail it in terms of the psychology of how do you make people want to win. You know, because that's all we've been trying to do, versing each other our whole lives. So everything was a sport. Everything was a game that could be made up. Even if you had a stick and some dirt, you know, you'd make a game out of it. And that's what I'm looking forward to the most. I'm trying not to put any emotion into it or thought into it until I see the game being successful. But once that game is successful, I think that's something that we can definitely overhaul. Aaron has been talking about investing in esports or building an esports bar for 15 years now. So like maybe you can dive into your thoughts on that type of stuff. But in terms of pure like raw competition, I'm excited.
Yeah. I think esports is something that you don't get to decide. The community gets to decide if there's esports. You can make a competitive game, you can put prize money to it, you can televise it, but it only really becomes an esport when the community decides that it is. So we don't really make that call, but it's something that I'm super passionate about. I attempted to try and manage a team early on in Australia when League of Legends was getting up and running. My background in tennis means that I've organized competitions. Literally, my first job when I was 14 years old was to run large scale competitions. So it's something that I think we can definitely do well. As Grant said, we're all super competitive. We know what makes people strive to be the best. And the game has been built from the ground up. At least Illuvium Arena has been built from the ground up to be a super competitive game. And other games that we have earmarked to build later on will also have a competitive nature to them as well. Whether or not they become esports, I don't know. But we have put aside a large amount of the in-game yields for tournament prize money. So we're fairly committed to making sure that we get across the line the largest prize pool in esports history.
That's awesome. And I'll just share a couple thoughts on this. Just any game that I've seen historically that comes out the gate and says we are an esport ultimately is not and fails at being an esport. And so we're not going to tell you that day one this is going to be a killer esports ready title. We need to let that happen organically. We need to let the game be perfected over time. And we need to kind of grassroots the competitive scene. That's going to be my approach from the marketing standpoint and from an event standpoint. Grassroots competitive scene and work on it step by step. I've worked with Blizzard Esports and I've done League of Legends tournaments in the past. And what I've learned over time is that you need to build it from the foundation of a fantastic game with an engaged player base that has a fun competitive scene. Then you start to see folks building their own competitive leagues kind of organically on their own and figuring out fun ways to do that. Then as a DAO and as a marketing team and as a team of core contributors, we can start to build on top of that and plant some seeds there and kind of grow it from the ground up. But just coming in and throwing a whole lot of money or ILV tokens at some grand event, hoping that that's somehow going to blow us up in a splashy play, that is not something that I want to do. And we are going to do this step by step, brick by brick, if we are going to achieve an esports kind of vision like we've been talking about. Those are my personal thoughts. And so, first of all, we need to get a game out the door and not get distracted by plushies. Great. Any closing thoughts, Grant and Aaron, before we end the stream?
No, I'm good. I'm glad we finally got some like actual community content videos happening. It's exciting.
I love how positive the community is at the moment. It's really, obviously the last few weeks there's been some difficulties and we've been clearing through them. We just got through the claim for SRV2. We got through another claim for Discord hack compensation. We've got staking V2 coming very, very shortly. So I think there's going to be a massive number of rollouts that make people super happy. But even considering they've still been waiting for a lot of things, there's still a lot of positivity. And I think that a community can only thrive if it's got a positive community. So thank you very much for your help. It's super inspiring to see all of the community come together like this.
That is the perfect note to say thank you for joining us. We'll see you in the next episode of Illuvium Insider. Enable notifications here on the YouTube channel so that you get notified whenever we schedule these streams in the future, so you can be here live. So maybe next time you can win trivia. And in the future, we're going to bring on big personalities in the DeFi and crypto space. We're going to bring in co-founders. We're going to bring Kieran in here. I'm going to bring in big crypto influencers, hopefully major personalities in the GameFi space, to share their visions of the future of the metaverse and for us to give you in-depth and exclusive looks at Illuvium, the game. So it's always worth your while to come to these streams and to participate.